All right, so this is being recorded now. So the reason I wanted to do this session is because a lot of candidates reach out to me regarding questions on how to improve their application. And I know one of the things is everybody's background is different. The time they graduated, the amount of years they had. One of the few things that I've seen common is most of the candidates who are coming from India are female. They have similar patterns. So there are certain things that you can do to like make your application a little bit unique. But one of the key things I've seen is which is holding people back is TOEFL. Now, one of the things that happened recently, I've seen people who got accepted with 90, 92, but I also got to hear somebody who had like 75 or 80 got an interview from one of the schools, which is pretty low. But one thing I've realized is that what happens in TOEFL is because even these dental school knows that every country, the level of English that people speak is different. For example, India and Pakistan were a British colony. Their average level of English speaking or their education is in English. So an average Indian is able to take 100 score on average. So when they are looking at an application, they expect an Indian Pakistani to score higher because they know the people who are applying from there will have good GPA. Now, it might be different from people who are coming from Armenia or people who are coming from Algeria or people who are coming from Iraq or people who are coming from Ukraine because they know a little bit like these, not every country is English speaking. So that's one of the things. Now, what we can do today is if you guys, it would be better off if you guys want to ask questions, whatever questions you have, since it's a smaller group, I'm more than comfortable helping you. Like if you have questions about any interview related question, anything, or even specifically for improving your application, if you have one, sometimes there are certain people who have not gotten any invite at all. And there are some people who got invites but did not get accepted. So it depends on what your situation is, and you can ask me questions and I can help you out and give you some extra understanding along with that. So does anybody has question right now? Whoa, okay. So nobody has question. Okay. So what I'm gonna start telling you, since if you wanna, like I can tell you a lot of things about how you improve your application, but it would be easier for me to answer you or guide you if you have any question. Because few of the things a lot of people I've seen over the past did to improve their application was a master's, but which I did. But the drawback of doing a master is that you're for 2 years tied up and it's expensive. So 2 years is a lot of time. One of the simpler ways you can improve your application is doing a preceptorship. You can do a preceptorship that also helps a lot. It improves your application. If you can't do now, there are certain programs where they have preceptorship for 4 5 months. There are certain which are only 1 month. And even if you can't do that, San Antonio, Colorado sometimes allows you to come and shadow for 1 month. It's called a observership. So you could even do that. That really gives the it improves your profile overall. So any questions, guys, that you guys want to ask? Okay. So one of the questions, what impact does volunteer experience have and what type of volunteer opportunities are most fun? So that's a very good question. So to be honest, dental schools, when they see an application, whether for the kids who apply locally, like the DDS 4 years student, or whether it's us, foreign trained dentists, they do want to see that you have done some kind of work for non-profit because they know that dentistry is very money driven, it's a business, but the schools encourages their student to be involved in volunteer work. And one of the criteria, whether it's a PhD, whether it's a master's, whether it's a law school in Harvard, they do want to see some level of community experience or community work or volunteer work that you have done. Sometimes people would say, I did volunteer work in a dental clinic in my own city in Boston or in LA. That is not a volunteer work. That is either a shadowing or an unpaid assisting. A volunteer work is a community work that you do with non-profit organizations. Now, you ask what type of volunteer opportunities are most beneficial. What I've learned from my experience, most of the people I know will go to a mosque or go to their temple and go to certain places like these to do volunteer work because it's easy for them. Plus, it's a religious duty for them. But dental schools in US actually prefer if you do community work in a recognized organization like Mission of Mercy, like Red Cross, these kind of organizations, or Give Kids a Smile or Healing California. These are very recognized organizations and the schools are affiliated to them. Like most of the faculty who's taking your interview have been somewhat part of Mission of Mercy. So when you say that I volunteered with Mission of Mercy, it actually creates a bigger impact. uh, Red Cross is a good organization. One other thing I suggest is that if you belong, like, I know a lot of people, again, it's easier for a Christian to go to a church, but it makes more impact if you're coming as an immigrant and you say, I went and worked with the Jewish synagogue, or I went and worked with the LGBT community, or I worked with the war veterans, with Air Force, with US Army. So it shows that you went out of your box and did something different rather than just working with your own people, because that shows that you like to be in your own comfort zone. One of the things I'll tell you in your application or in your personal statement or in your interview, mentioning that you have the capability to go out of your comfort zone and work in different environment is a positive thing. So look for opportunities like that. If you uh, you could even, sometimes people would say, I haven't done any volunteer work until now. I tell them right away, Google Red Cross, see what opportunities are available in your area, and right away at least sign up for it. So at least on the interview day you can at least say that I've already have applied for a volunteer position with Red Cross, and it takes some time to get into the system. So at least they know you made an effort. Does that answers, Dr. Neha?
Yes, yes, that's a great answer. Thank you so much, Doc.
Sure, sure. What other questions you guys have? Is there's no question you guys want to ask regarding this? Okay, then I can tell you a lot of things. I don't know how much relevant is going to be, but any suggestion for recent grads? So by recent, what year did you graduated, Doc? Like you mean 2 years, 3 years? It would be easier if you guys can turn on the mic, I think. So I passed out. You well, okay. I graduated in May 23rd, uh, 2000. So yeah, that's fresh graduate. The reason I ask you what, when people say fresh graduate, according to CAAPID cycle, like if it's 2024, even a 2020 person is a fresh graduate in their world. Like when I got accepted in 2020, on average, most of my class fellows were graduate of 2009. I was a graduate of 2014, so I was a little bit younger in my class, a little bit, not too much. So you're a pretty fresh grad if you graduated in 2023. So couple of things I haven't talked to you, I haven't heard you, but one of the things I'll tell is, one thing I see when I communicate with fresh grad is that they have a lot of energy. They are very excited, very zealous, and they will say things that they don't know about. For example, they will say, if the school asks, what's your long-term plan? They will say, I want to do research work, I want to do community work, I want to do specialization, and I want to teach as well. And I ask them, like, you are telling seven different things in one go. So one of the things you want to do is, if you're a fresh grad, is try to get more experience by volunteering at different organizations, by working more, getting more practical experience, and try to build maturity when you explain. For example, you might work as a dental assistant or as a shadow for 6 months. But if you can explain your experience clearly, like if I am a fresh grad and I mentioned I was fortunate that I got to do shadowing in a clinic in California where I got to learn how patient communication is done, how patient confidentiality is important, how computer, like how we use technology like dentrifics and softwares like these, and how we can work in a busy practice. So these were some of the things I've learned through my shadowing. So if you're able to explain your experience in a mature way, that shows that even though you're young, but you're a mature person and you will be a good student to learn. Like you will be flexible. The other thing they want to, I suggest people who are fresh graduate is use terms which shows that yes, I am fresh graduate. I don't know a lot, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to work hard to improve myself as I move forward. For example, when I'm preparing a fresh graduate for an interview preparation, and they ask questions like, what's your long-term plan? I would tell them, say in your long-term plan that after my DDS, I would try to do a GPR program because I know there's a lot for me to learn and I need to continue to learn. So as a fresh grad, you're admitting that you're a freshie, you're a newbie. There's a
It's a
lot for
lot.
you to learn, but you're gonna work hard to learn and grow. Does that answer your question, Doc? Okay, I presume that answers. If not, you can.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It really helps.
Yeah. So the next question is, I, guys, it would be easier if you unmute and ask, but okay, let me read. Any suggestions? Do you recommend bench test courses? So to in my experience, there are a lot of people teaching bench exam courses, and I know it's expensive, but if you're gonna pay, you want to make sure you go somewhere which will really, really teach you well. Sometimes we try to save a little bit money, or we are trying not to travel because you might have kids and family and all of that stuff. But my number one preference would be if I have to go back in time, I would go to Stevenson. I tried to go there twice, but my flight canceled because of COVID, everything shut down. But to be honest, if you want to do it, I would highly suggest go to Stevenson. If not Stevenson, after then, Duggan is the second one. Why did I say Duggan in the second? Because now Dr. Duggan doesn't teaches himself. And Stevenson, Dr. Stevenson is actually a professor emeritus of UCLA. Even the faculty people at CU Boston, they respect Dr. Stevenson. He's a credible person in the academic world. So my suggestion would be, yeah, to go to Stevenson on number one. What is the true importance? I'm gonna this. So the question is, Dr. Lewis, you asked this. What is the importance of applying early? So I've said this earlier too in another video. Imagine if you were a if you were working in a school, you were the faculty or the admission coordinator or something like that. And once the application start, they're gonna be about 800 people or 1000 people going to be applying throughout the world who are going to send you application. Normally you would encourage or you will appreciate people who are applying on time, who are applying with their all their documents right, and who are not making stupid blunders. So a couple of things. You just don't want to apply early with incomplete documents. If you're going to apply early, you want to make sure that all your documents are well prepared, they are well written, and you are submitting it in a way that helps the school process it fast and get done with it earlier. You're helping the school. In one of the videos I said this, when something is very difficult, you need to understand how can you prepare yourself as a candidate that you're not just looking to go into school for your own benefit, but think about how can I help the school as well. One of the way you can help them is by trying to apply early and apply in the right way. So applying early helps a lot, but along with that, make sure all your documents, all your things are done correctly. There aren't any mistake. They are to the point. They are brief. I read personal statement or supplemental application whose where people have written a lot of stories and blah blah blah, and after like 10 minutes of roaming around, then they get to the point. So when you're writing something, you want to write it in a way that you're coming direct to the point. You're not wasting the other person's time. You have one of the key thing in US is everybody's busy. If they are giving you their attention, it's a lot of value. So you want to make it brief and you want to make it straight to the point. Does that kind of answers your question, Doc? Okay, I presume it answered. If you guys can unmute, by the way, it would be easier.
Good morning, Doc. I have a question. So, when applying to different dental schools, how would we determine what the school actually wants? Like, if we are applying through CAAPID and we're like answering the supplemental questions, how would we know that what dental school wants?
So I'm gonna tell you something. If you look at the banks, I hope you live in US right now or you visited US. You will go and see there's a Chase Bank, there's a Chase at JP Morgan, then there's PNC and a lot of Wells Fargo and different banks. And if you go back a little bit, you will realize that pretty much all these banks are owned by the same companies and they have the same regulations. And if you go back, you pretty much see that all of these branches are coming from the same tree. Now, coming to dental schools, to be honest, 95% of all these dental schools have similar structure. There are certain things that might be different due to the location, due to the political influence, due to the area, but most of these schools are pretty much same. These are same faculty who jump around everywhere. Like I had professor in CU who shifted to Texas and started teaching, or went to Chapel Hill and started teaching there. So by the end of the day, you need to understand pretty much it's the same family. The mindset is very similar. Now, what they are looking for, coming to that, regardless of any school it is, number one thing from a foreign trained dentist, they want to see that you passed all your exams, whether it's INBD, TOEFL, and all of that. The next thing they look at, the first thing that they come across is your communication, your presentation, and when we are communicating, people who are coming from India, Pakistan, and these countries, whenever we speak English, we are speaking English to our professors, to our bosses, to our principal. So when we write, we always write, uh, hope you find this email well. I wanted to kindly request, and I make this kind of mistake too. I wanted to, like, we use a very submissive tone and we spend two lines just to show that we are making a request. In US, they say we want to cut the crap and get straight to the point. So the number one thing they are looking at is how you communicate. That kind of shows that this person is assimilated to the American society. He can talk. So number one thing they are looking is how you write your application. First is your exams and scores and everything. The second thing is your communication. After that, within that communication, they want to see whether you have some experiences which shows that you're a good team player, whether you have done volunteer work. Can you work in an American system? Are you used to dentistry in US? Are you used to technology? These are some of the things they are trying to see when they are reading your personal statement and your supplemental application. Now, the school might be in a different. Now, one of the things that can vary is like if you're applying to a school in Boston or Massachusetts, and if you did some work or volunteer or some education in Boston, yes, they will give you preference because you live in that city. Now, if you're applying to USC and you've been doing and you live in Illinois, yes, you will get a little bit preference because you live in that town, you visited UIC, you did dental camps with Chicago's Mission of Mercy. So that's a little bit difference that they see. Now, the other thing they can see is For example, Loma Linda is a very strong Christian school, Seventh-day Adventist. They are very much focused on spirituality, about religion, about discipline. So if you can integrate that into your supplemental application, that will be a good prospect. Now, this is just the top part, but the underlying structure of most of these schools is very similar. Does that make sense? Because I hope I'm not
Yeah,
confusing.
yes, doctor. Thank you so much.
Sure. So, Dr. Lewis, you were raising hand. Doc, you want to say something? You're on mute. Or you're mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're on mute. Yeah.
Hello, doctor. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today?
I think they are doing good.
Okay, doctor, good. I'm calling in from Chicago. Thank you for inviting me to the group. I want to talk specifically about letters of recommendation and how to use them. I'm going to use an example. For example, Boston, which requires ex-faculty members of ours, and another example, Indiana, which requires a community service. So let's say we all put in our letters of recommendations from doctors who are here in the U.S. When we go apply to these colleges that, for example, Boston, that requires faculty members of your old school, that CAAPID only allows you to have a three set letter of recommendation. My question specifically is it wise to get another letter of recommendation and upload it to the optional scan letter of recommendation? How would we go about this? Because I
So you
truly do
can do
not
two
have that.
things in that situation. For example, you applied to different school, you had three application. Now, Indiana is asking you, send me a letter of recommendation from a place where you did volunteer work. Like they are asking something which is different and you haven't uploaded. And now at this point, what you can do a couple of things. Number one, you can officially ask that person to send it directly to the school, all right,
Oh,
from their official email address, their organization, like their official email address. They can send it to that school, put CAAPID, like CAAPID has an email address too, put that in CC and just send it to them. The
oh
second thing
wow. Okay.
along with that, as a backup, you could do is email the school and inform that professor, my doctor, this, or this person from this organization will be sending out my like letter of recommendation. And in the subject, they can put your CAPID ID. All right.
Oh,
That's
okay,
the
perfect. Yes.
second thing. The third thing, as a backup, you can upload it as a non-official document in your application, but it holds less worth because now it's unofficial because you're the one who's uploading it and you can create a fake one. But if that person is sending it officially from their official email address, it gives it a little bit stronger standing that this documentation is authentic.
Okay. So another question, a follow up. If it in this case asks for two, and I provide one, should I make an effort and try the two that they asked for,
You
or
need
should I
to
just?
you need to provide two. I
Oh, okay.
wouldn't try. This is something
Don't
that the
risk it.
schools are very picky. Don't take it like, see, dental schools will, during your DDS, they will make you say, get on your knees, stand up, like do this, do that. They treat you like a 2 years old. And during your admission cycle, if you don't follow their orders, you're not a good student. They already know that this person wouldn't work out. Like if he is
Mm.
not listening to our orders right now and can't follow them, no way he's going to be a good student. He's going to be a pain in the neck, especially from male students, just to let you know. Because females
Yes,
are very
doctor.
particular. They are very stressed out and they follow all the points. They try to get everything done on time. I've seen a lot of the male candidates, they are, even when they get accepted, they create a lot of trouble for the school because they don't follow rules. So from day one, you want to show that you're somebody who's very procedure oriented and you get the things done in the right way.
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Sure. Dr. Neha, student with a TOEFL of 90%. So here's the thing, Doc. I told like 90 for an Indian candidate is not a good score. If you were coming from Ukraine and you had 90, or you were coming from Syria and you had 90, then it would have been something different. But on average, these schools now understand people. They've been meeting Indians and Syrians and Iraqis and Ukrainians and Russians for the past 10 years. So when they see an Indian with a score of 95, it's nothing big for them. They did, because Indian candidates are can easily score above 100 or 110. So I think you should try to get better score along like on point like around 100, and then you can update them or update CAAPID for it. But right now, as of now, TOEFL is one of the biggest thing that is holding people back. To be honest, I can tell you from my experience, I didn't. So after my graduation, I did 1 year of house job internship here, and then I got into oral surgery. I hardly did any general dentistry. And on my application, it was one of the biggest. I knew this weakness. Schools knew it, that this person never worked as a paid dental assistant. I did a master's. I was doing managerial work, and this was a problem that I didn't had clinical experience. But one of the things I was compensating it for was I had 113 in my TOEFL and I had a master's. So I was compensating from that point. So right now, when I see a lot of people who are stuck, one of the key things that can actually help their application is getting good score in TOEFL. And I
That
know
make
it's not
total
easy.
sense. Yeah. No, thank
And
you
I
so
know,
much.
yep, sure. And I know it's not easy. It's a very frustrating, and it's not an English exam, it's a strategy exam. But again, it's the profession you're getting into is actually a money milking cow. People are becoming millionaires through dentistry. So you can't expect that you will just apply and they will hug you and say, come into the school and become a dentist. US is run on business. It's a capitalist country. You need to understand you're trying to get in entry into a millionaire club. And it's not gonna be just because you you have a very good attitude or you're cute or you can speak just well, you will get entry. No. They will make you struggle very hard before you get accepted. All right. So the next question is, tell me, what's the question somebody said? Again, it's easier if you guys will unmute and say because it's difficult for me to read it while. Tell me something that you want to convey to the admission committee. I can't make the question that was sent to me, Doc. I can't really understand. Tell me something that you want to convey to the admission committee about you that would help me making a decision about how this question. I can't understand. You need to explain me because it's not making sense to me, Doc. Any other question, guys? Meanwhile, Doc, I know you send me a direct message, so I'm not gonna call you out. You can just figure out, like, I can't understand what you're exactly asking me. Okay. Anybody else, meanwhile, want to ask some other questions?
I have a question, Doc.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to ask that throughout the application, if there's any developments after applying to school, is it enough to upload it on CAPID or should we individually tell the schools as well?
Okay. I'll answer that. How do you pronounce your first name, Doc?
Mine, Hira.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, your Zoom showed a different name. That's why. Okay,
Oh.
so here's the thing. That sometimes you can. A lot of people have told me like I gave my TOEFL exam later on, and the school is saying that now we can't update it, right? Sometimes what would happen once you filled in your application, the deadline is done, the school will officially say at this point we are not updating anything. But here's the other thing I'll tell you. Every email or every communication that you do, and as long as you didn't write it in a stupid way, every communication that you do, actually they print it out and they put it in a folder. So there will be a folder with your CAPID ID. If they shortlisted you, they will make a folder for you. So the people they are taking seriously, they create a file for them. It can be an electronic one, it can be in person. And whatever communication you will do, they will print it out and put your emails in there too. So remember, if you're some candidates are like annoyingly emailing school every day, what's happening, did you receive it, and all of that, blah blah. Don't think it's going into junk mail. Every single word that you're writing will create an impact in your application. So you need to be very careful with your communication and the frequency of your communication as well. So if, for example, you did a TOEFL or your letter of recommendation, you can actually email them. That's what I said. The best way, if it's a letter of recommendation, have that person officially send it directly to the school, put CAAPID in the CC. If it's a TOEFL, you can send your official score up there and email them, say, send it to them, and they might say, well, we won't, uh, we won't acknowledge it because the deadline is gone. Just say, even though I know the deadline has passed, but I just wanted to personally update you because I've been putting hard work in this and there was a certain improvement I got. I just wanted to inform you. Whether you're going to put it in my application, acknowledge it or not, doesn't matter. And
Got it.
that shows actually a bigger personality, that you're not doing it to impress them. You're just showing them that I am somebody who continues to work hard. Whether you want to recognize it and put it in the file or whether you don't, doesn't matter to me.
Got it, Doc. Thank you.
Sure.
Doctor, following this question, so for example, if we did volunteer or CE courses, should we send like the CV updated or
Here's the thing, Doc,
individual?
that those are not major developments. So imagine if you took an online CE of like 10 CE points, like now you're just gonna like that. If okay, if you had a TOEFL of 92 and you now got 1 or 2, that's a big jump. That's a big thing. You want to update them. But every month, if you go and take a CE and now you're gonna keep sending them 5 different resume, I don't think it's worth annoying them. So if you're updating them, again, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Every communication matters, but what a lot of candidates do is that they use this opportunity to annoy the hell out of school. Trust me, if you were in their chair, like I had a very bad experience when I was applying to school because I did a master's. After that, I was working in a non-profit organization in Ohio. It was a good place I was working. And now when I started applying to dentist school, they were treating me as shit, to be honest. Like they would send email, your master's, one of the schools sent me an email that your master's transcript have not been received. And if you don't send it by tomorrow, you won't be allowed to sit in your interview. I was like, I thought like nobody professionally treats you like this in US. Like I communicate professionally. No, people would say we haven't been updated. Can you update it as soon as possible? They won't say like they won't threaten you that if you don't do it by tomorrow, we will kick you out of the list. I was like, this is a little bit like nasty professionally. So what I did, I emailed my school, like my previous school registrar, and put the dentist school coordinator in CC and said like, they have just informed me that they have not received the transcript. Can you please send it directly to the dentist school? It's a big thing for me and I will highly appreciate. So that was done, but I realized that they don't really respect us. And after spending some time in the system, I realized that the reason they don't respect us because we keep acting stupid, to be honest. If we keep sending them emails over like I can tell you some candidates get stressed out and they keep sending perfect emails that aren't even like serious. They aren't like they are just communicating because they are stressed out. That's not a professional way to do things. You can't get emotional. One of the key things I'll tell you, it's kind of like a business deal. You can't get emotional in this. Regardless of what's going at your home, what's going psychologically, physiologically, when it comes to your communications or your like you're a doctor, and if regardless if what happened to me in my house, I can't go to the clinic next day and take out my emotional stress on the patient. Sometimes we do, which is not a good thing. In the same way, when you're communicating to schools, kindly be very rational and be very professional in what you're communicating. One thing I'm going to tell you guys, I never said this on my YouTube videos. I never said it officially. Some schools actually keep an eye on WhatsApp groups as well. I know a lot of you guys are part of WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. I've had people who gave interview, and after their interview, they shared their experience in a WhatsApp group. They were actually waitlisted and later on got accepted, and that person got to learn this. The reason they waitlisted is because the school felt that this person breached confidentiality. Like they gave an exam or an interview and shared it with other people which they were not supposed to. And I kept thinking, how did the school figure it out what's going in the WhatsApp? So just to let you know, sometimes, especially these, not the journalized one, but when schools start to send out like these uh, invites and stuff, they some schools are keeping an eye on what's going in WhatsApp groups and YouTube and all of that. Like my channel had been under radar by some of the places too when I was a student. Now nobody cares. I'm out of the system now, but they are very like picky about these things. So be careful in your communication overall. Does this make sense, Doc?
Yes, thank you.
So there's a question in the comment box saying I have given no. If no, if Duggan, so the question is, I took a Duggan course before the interview, and now should I update you? If you have an official certificate of completion from Duggan Institute, you can just put it in the attachment, email to the school officially, and say I wanted to update you regarding this hands-on course which I took. That's it. If they want to put it in your file, they will. If not, you can't do anything.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Again, now, just how I said, put the attachment, write 2 lines, send it. Now, some candidates will write a whole big essay rather than, and remember, pictures make more impact than words. If you can say something briefly with the proof, it's way stronger.
Okay, got it.
All right.
Thank you, Doc.
Sure. Any other question, guys?
Doctor, I have another question. In the decision of taking either the Florida hygienist license or going back to, I'm from Mexico, going back to Mexico to do a master's, because I think that will, yeah,
Florida
okay.
license would be the number one thing. Here's one thing I'll tell you is US is a very biased country towards themselves because they think US is the way Americans think is there is US and then there's the rest of the world. They don't care. They don't care about other people, other countries' qualification. Even if they care, they will, if you've done like 10 years of education, they will only say we will recognize 2 years out of it. And especially if you are in US, stay within US, make the best out of it. And being a hygienist, I think it's a pretty good done situation because you make good money as well. Being a DA is tough, no doubt. You're working a lot of hours, you're not making that much money. It's not a good place to work at, be in. But being a hygienist, I think it's an overall good deal.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other question, guys? Taha, do you have any question? Okay.
Hi, Doctor. This is Divya here. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Jill.
So Doctor, I actually recently went for an interview. So basically my background is I just have like 3 months of experience as a dentist in India. And I came to US and started working as a dental assistant and did a lot of stuff. But what they asked me was like, I don't have much experience as a dentist. How do we know that you're actually good in your clinics?
How long you worked as a DA?
Almost 3 years.
Okay, then here's the next time if somebody asks you, you can mention that when I graduated, for me at that given time, I was advised or suggest my mentors recommended me that if I want to learn from the best, I should if I want to be the best, I should learn from the best. And if I want to assimilate in the American society, I need to move in there, work there professionally, and learn while I'm working up there. So even though I did not work as a dentist for very long in India, but working for 3 years as a dental assistant have laid down somewhat of a good foundation for me to understand the dynamic of patient confidentiality, patient communication. It taught me about digital dentistry. It taught me about how to communicate professionally in US. It taught me what HIPAA is. And I think those are somewhat good things that I got to learn from my mentors early on, which will help me be a good student. So even though I did not work as a dentist for very long, but working as a dental assistant has somewhat been preparing me or equipped me to be a good dental student in the future. So I think their question had a big problem with it, because by the end of the day, they are hiring you to be a student. You are not and you can, along with that, you can mention that I've been taking hands-on courses. I've been preparing for bench test preparation at home with on my psychomotor skills to keep up with my manual dexterity. And by the end of the day, the reason I want to go back to school is because I want to learn. I am a student. So the reason I'm becoming a student because I want to learn. Does that make
Yes,
sense
doctor.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, I mean that's what exactly I felt, doctor. But then the question kind of took me like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Like, how can I improve? Because I've done all these bench courses too, and they still keep on asking me like, how do we know that you're still good in your clinical skills?
Yeah,
You just work as a DA.
you need to learn how to sell yourself. I had this question in my interview, like, and there was no second thought about it, that I did not do hands-on dentistry. I only did surgery residency. I was part of it. I gave that up, came here, did a master's. I never did you still did dental assisting. I never did paid dental assisting. I did a couple of shadowing. And I told them in all honesty, yeah, I don't have much clinical experience as a general dentist, but I'm a very hardworking person. I made the best out of whatever I got in my life, and I'm coming there to learn. I'm not coming there to teach. I'm coming there to learn. So it might take me a little bit longer, but I would be the hardest working person in the room, whatever it takes. And if you're willing to give me a chance, I'm going to prove it. So this is something you will, because every person who's sitting up here, no matter how good your profile is, there will be something of a weakness in your profile. Now, how the way you fix it is you need to understand that if one of my muscle is small, how can I compensate it with the rest of my muscles? Like you wanna show, okay, this is the area I'm weak, but there's 10 other things that I've tried to do in my life. And I think working hard in them has taught me to be humble. It had taught me to be hardworking. And I'm gonna use that to be a good student if you're willing to give me a chance. That's the kind of student they are looking for.
Yes, doctor. Thank you so much, doctor.
Sure. So the next question was, if you are a reapplication applicant, should you change your LORs? If your LORs were good enough, why do you need to change it? I think it should be fine enough. If they don't have anything, like there was nothing wrong in them, don't change them. Guys, it would be easier if you guys unmute and speak. It takes me very long to read this. In continuation of a fresh graduate person, I just graduated in December 23, received my final degree last month. So what should one do to improve their profile back in their home country? Prefer fresh graduate, can you provide me with also which school mostly prefer? So there's no one school which prefers fresh graduate and the other. I don't know why people keep thinking about this, that there's one school which only like young people and there's one school which only like old people. There's there's no school like that. All of them want diversity. Like for example, Colorado have 40 seats. There were some people who were 20, there were two or three people who were like 23 or 24 years old. And then there were three or four people who were like 55, 52 years old. So there's no one school which loves young one. It's not like there's a school for uh, fresh grads separately and there's a school for old people separately. The schools remain the same. Now, in your case, to be honest, there's a price to being young. I think I'm not young anymore, neither I'm super old, but I'm somewhere in between. And I can tell you one thing. One of the things I'm happy that I'm not young anymore is because nobody takes you seriously, especially with men. That's the biggest problem. When you're young, you have a lot of energy, but you don't have experience. So what can you do? But the best thing you can do at home is do as much clinical work you can do, take more CE courses. If you can go for international conferences, do that. I went to the open house at UIC and somebody asked the lady up there, her name is Brilia, who's the admission coordinator, and somebody asked her, uh, why do you not give preference to fresh grad? She was like, there have been people who have been applying for the past 3 years and we give them priority because they came in, they've been applying longer than you are. So if you have to stand behind in the line, there's no problem in it. Now, does this mean that you have to wait 3 years? No. What I'm going to tell you is what you need to do is if you're young, that means you have less responsibilities or less kids and families and bills to manage. So use your time wisely and do more things in your life to show that you are a hardworking young person. Take more C courses, do more clinical experience, attend international conferences, show that you're somebody who's actively doing more than their peers. That's one way to show that you're a fresh graduate, but you're a hardworking person. So the next question is, I have applied to 24 schools, no invite. I graduated in 22. I've been working as a DA since 2024. This is my second cycle. I improved my TOEFL. So I don't know. I don't have idea. So to be honest, I don't know if I talked to you earlier. The question is that I graduated in 2002, and after 2004, I've been working as a, sorry, let's give me a second. And the question is that I graduated in 2002, which is like what, like 20 years, I think, if my maths is right. And after that, I've been working as a dental assistant after 2004. And in your case, it's pretty straightforward. You will have a lot of clinical experience, but you've been way out of schools for too long. And I think one of the things that can really help you is doing some kind of masters, because their problem would be this person has not entered a school or a college for the past 20 years, and things have changed so much in the 20 years, in the past 20 years. Like they are thinking, we don't even know if this person can survive in a school anymore. So your application would need some kind of academic investment, like this person have been engaged in school. So to make it brief, I don't know if I told you earlier this, but do a master's if you can. Can I guarantee that will get you accepted? No, but that will improve your chance to get accepted or getting an invite. Does that make sense, Doc? What other questions do you guys have?
Hi, Doc. So I just had a question. I'm a recent grad, and I've applied this cycle. And to improve my profile, is it wise to do some preceptorship programs, or should I apply for the ADA pass residency programs like the orofacial pain, or there's so many other residency
When you
programs in
said
oral
recent,
biology
what
too.
year did you graduated?
2023, last year.
I think preceptorship is a good way. To be honest, I don't know. Orofacial pain, maybe you will get accepted to that. University of Tough has a mini residency in digital dentistry. That's all. It's a 3 months program. That's also good. But if you think you're gonna apply to ADA pass into ortho residency or endo, the chances of getting accepted to that is very less because it's very, very, very competitive. So number one thing I'll say is, yeah, if you can get into orofacial pain residency, it's good, but it's going to be 2 years. You're going to be stuck with it. So if I was
Yeah.
you, I would keep doing general dentistry. I would take some preceptorship, do some shadowing in US, and try to apply again.
Or for that matter, do some masters. I mean, it also
Again,
guarantees you a visa status. So
but then you're tied up for 2 years and being a student and you're
yeah,
spending $50,000, $60,000 and you're broke and you don't know what to do because now you spend so much money and you're not getting an H1 visa and work visa and all of that. So you need to, it's either way, it's not easy in any way. In either way, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of investment. They're different route. I went through the student, like the master's route. If you want to go for that, you can, but it's just people do get accepted. It makes your application stronger, but it's just a little bit longer stretch.
got it. Thank you, Doc. I think that makes sense. So your suggestion would be any preceptorship program.
Now you have to figure out preceptorship or masters. Masters is a 2 years program, a lot of money, you're not working, all of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Dr.
Thank you, Doc.
Adriel,
Yes.
which is the best school to do the preceptorship? Most of the students have heard like UCLA is a great option since it's like a
Which,
1-year program.
whichever
And
is the
Boston,
cheapest for you, doc, to be
yeah,
honest.
because I feel Boston is the cheapest one and it's like 1
It's
month.
all here's let's break it down into practicality. When you are a preceptor, what do? You go and just look at things. And these
Yes,
people are charging you $20,000 just to let you see things. They're
yeah,
not even touching it. In India, you can go and take on a go to a small village and work with a doctor and he will let you take out an appendix. So
correct.
now you're coming to US, you're paying $20,000, you're paying to live in that hotel or whatever, wherever you're staying. And for
Hmm.
that $20,000, all they let you do is just look with your eyes and just sit around and just try to see, which is
Yeah,
fine, but
hmm,
it's a business. You could
correct.
let me see for free too,
Hmm.
but it's a business. So if by the end of the day, I would just pick the whatever the cheapest is, or
Okay,
if unless you live in Boston or you live in LA, it's easier for you to commute and all of that.
correct.
But again, in this process, remember these rental schools are businesses. I keep getting these questions again and again and again. I got accepted to UIC and UPenn. What way should I go? And I asked, what's the tuition fee difference? Well, UIC is $1,000, $100,000 more. I'm like, why are you even asking this question? Like, there's no, like, if you take an extra 100 grand of loan, that, and if you add interest on you, that's like 150 or $200,000, and that's so much stress on your life, on your family life. The less loan you're in, the better your life will be. So keep it simple. If you can, there are certain places where you should invest, like going to Stevenson. I would definitely suggest, or if you need interview preparation, there are, because here's one way I'll tell you, this is something from a financial standpoint. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's good. And just because something is cheap doesn't mean it's good either, because you need to see the value of that thing. Now, for a preceptorship, if you go to San Antonio, Boston, or UCSF, all of them are pretty much a preceptorship. Now, if some place would allow me to do a little bit more hands-on, that would be a better value. If you're gonna charge me 5,000 more and let me do something hands-on, yes, I'm willing to pay you $5,000 more. So by the end of the day, look at the value of the thing. Sometimes you pay a little bit more, but you're getting a better value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Compare it that way. Okay.
And are there any recommendations for TOEFL examination? Like how can I prepare, or
I
maybe
made a video on this, doc. I said I back when I was doing, there are a couple of YouTube channels, Note for TRT or something like that. There's one. You can look at them. They offer courses too. I just saw their videos. A lot of them took a Barron's book and kept trying on my own. TST, yes. So these
Okay.
were good channels. So just I would use that and go from there and see if you want to buy one of the courses. So one of the doctors, I'll come to you, Dr. Lewis. As so, if I do a master's, I will be tied up. Anything you recommend me not too tied up, so I can. Well, doc, in your case, you have a 20 years of lapse in education. You need to be tied up for a couple of years in an academic institution to show that you can be a student all over again. I usually tell the fresh graduates, don't get tied up if you can do a preceptorship because they just got out of school. In your case, you've been away from school for 20 years. So you actually want to show them that I can go into a school and survive in that environment for over a year or 2 years. So you, for the younger folks, I'd tell them, okay, do you want to get tied up? For somebody in your situation, even if you can find a part-time master's where you go in evening and continue to work in the morning and attend these classes, you need to show some kind of academic degree or education to show that you can be a potential student. And I think I've told you this earlier too. Dr. Lewis, yes.
Thank you, doctor. I want to know your personal opinion about two colleges in this, two colleges specifically. One of them being Marquette, the one up here in I believe it's Michigan or Wisconsin. That's right here next to Illinois, and the other college, Gainesville, down in Florida. So to add a little bit of context, the one up here in Marquette, I believe it's Marquette. It's a college which only offers applicants depending on if a student drops out of their regular school, and versus the other one, Florida, which is a 4-year program, similar to the dental schools that people do when they're here in college, when they get fresh out of their BAs. So I wanted to know your opinion on that. What do you think about it? Is it wise to apply? Should we risk it? What do you think about it, Doc?
So are you saying, is it wise to apply there or wise to go if you get accepted?
Mainly, so okay, so let's focus on Marquette. Is it advisable? Should we apply just in case they open the chair, or should I just use my
Okay.
energies towards
The
someplace
way
else?
I look at things is that, first of all, you need to figure out at your finances and look how much money and how many schools you're going to apply. For example, if you calculate $400 per school, 4,000, okay, I'm going to apply to 10 schools. Okay, if you're applying to 10 schools, from those 10, you prioritize which school has the largest number of chairs and which are closer to your house and where you have some kind of family or it's easier for you. So you pick those schools as number one. Imagine you pick, like Colorado has 40 seats, NYU has like 28 or something like that seats. So you pick the school with the biggest share. Now you're left with 3 options. Now from there, you can see schools like Kentucky, Market or something like that. At that time, you can just see if you want to apply or not. And even when you're applying, I suggest people, if you're going to apply a school, just don't send your documents up there and expect that you will get an invite. You need to create some kind of personal relationship with them. You need to visit the school. You need to do some emails, communication, so they already know about you. So there's no right and wrong. If you have money,
Okay.
I applied to 13 schools. Like SIU was one of them. I never got an invite. Harvard was one of them. I never got an invite. I applied. Well, you have to throw the net like this. There's no right and wrong. It just
Okay.
depends on your finances. If you can apply to as many schools. I know
Going
people
so
who have applied to 40 schools.
wow. Going back to okay, so that being said, it's kind of like if you're willing to roll the dice on that one. And going back to the other one, the Florida school, which is 4 years of school. Let's say they take me in. Only school that takes me in. 4 years. What do you think about that, Doc? Would you like
Well,
should
the
I
point
wait
is,
and
if you,
apply to other
well, here's an honest truth. First of all, right now, this question is something I discuss with somebody once they get an acceptance. Right now, for the lack of better terms, I had to, I don't like saying this, but beggars can't be choosers. The point is, until the time you don't get any acceptance, you just want any one school to give you acceptance. Once you get that and another one, then you can start comparing which one is better. If you only have one acceptance and it's 4 years, and you do the maths, you're going to come out with $500,000 loan. You can recover that if you want to become a dentist again. So these are questions you do. And one thing I tell people, once you get one acceptance, you get another one. It's just how universe works. People who have more keep getting more. That's the Matthew's law. And people who have less, even things get less for them. So right now, if I was you, I would just focus on getting one acceptance at least. And if you have 10 schools or 15 schools, first figure out which schools are you applying to.
Thank you,
So
Doc. Thank you. That was a really good, honest opinion. Thank you.
if I have to go to a 4-year school because that's the only option I have and I really badly want to do it, I might just do it. Is it ideal? No. But do you have another option? If not, then go for it.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Doctor. Yeah, 100%. Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. What other question did we had up there? Makes sense. All right. Any other question, guys?
Hi, Doctor. Doctor, would you recommend some of the master's courses, like just to improve GPA?
Yeah, do any masters that is easy for you to get in. MPH or MHA are usually preferred. See anything that's closer to your home and it's not super expensive. And I made a video recently. I told them, like, I would rather want to do a master's the school is attached to a dental school as well, like UAB. I would do a master's up there because they have a dental school too. Or doing a master's where a dental school is nearby, because then you can use the contacts to at least go and shadow in the school.
Yes, Doctor.
All right. So
Thank you.
Do you think it's feasible to apply in this cycle? It's already, I would say apply to Colorado. Is going to open up in the next month or so. All right. Any other question, guys?
Doc, when does the Colorado open again? Sorry.
I don't know exactly. It might be around September, but keep an eye on their website. Here's the thing, Doc. If you want to get into the school, you need to start stalking that school's website, because what they
Got it.
do is they do virtual tours.
Yes.
Those are very big thing. So if you want to apply there, like start stalking them. Keep an eye on what's going on, if they allow you to go and do observership or anything like that.
Got it. And also one more thing, for Casper, we don't have to give a different one for different schools, do we? Or just
I
one
think
for all of
different
them?
schools require different Casper.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. And there was a question somebody sent. Doc, do you have opinion on visa status B1? I don't know about, again, when it comes to visa, I don't speak anything. I try to keep my knowledge to the minimum, because every year there changes, a new president will come and things will change. The visa for Venezuela will be different. It would be different for Indians. It would be different for people coming from Muslim countries. So I don't know what like that's not my area. The best people to ask are people from your own country who have gone through the process, because it's very different for everybody how they kind of give you visa, or after visa giving you H1 or not. Like right now, for the Indians to get a green card is getting more and more difficult after that. But it might not be same for Pakistanis. For Pakistanis to get in is more difficult. So I'm not a visa consultant. It's not the best of my knowledge in that area. So I'm not gonna give you, I don't want to give you wrong information. The next question is, thank you, Doc, for the opportunity. Okay. Can you do something TOEFL like? I wish I could TOEFL in order to teach or to guide regarding TOEFL. There is a question if I can make a video or do something about. It would require me a lot of time to actually. I might have to go and give a TOEFL again to be actually good at teaching it. It's just a lot of time and energy. I did make one video on reading when I was doing it, but if in future I get time and I can do some research and revise everything, then I will for sure tell you, like, guide on TOEFL again. But it's a whole different, like, it's a lot of things to cover and requires a lot of time. But hopefully in future, if I get time, I will do it for sure. Any other question, guys?
Doctor, I have another question.
Sure.
After we get a rejection letter, do you think it's recommendable that to ask for that school for feedback? I know some schools don't answer you. I don't want to say anything
So
about
I
that.
think you should, but the way you ask and when you ask again, I think of this from a religious perspective that ask and it shall be given to you. It's your right to ask for things. But my problem with a lot of candidates is how they ask and how they communicate is the annoying part. So if you, and schools have seasons, like seasons when they are very busy. For example, next month, Colorado is going to be, the admission people are going to be very much relaxed. But once September starts, they will get very, very busy. They won't reply, they won't talk, they won't do anything. So the thing is, I think you should ask for feedback, but it's very important how you write your email. Should be very precise, very professional, and it should be sent in a time when the school will, there's a high chance of them replying to you. For example, if you start emailing school after March, they are very busy. They won't reply you. But if you email them in January, February, they have all the time in the world and they might get back to you.
All right, thank you.
So somebody asked if if a person is in the middle of a master's and they get acceptance and still practically finish. Well, if you get accepted to a these are very hypothetical things that you're like, it's like, imagine if I haven't even gotten married and I'm thinking, what should I name my kid? These are those kind of questions. To be honest, when you get accepted, it takes about 1 year for you to start a school. So if you get accepted, you can freeze your masters. You can actually freeze your masters right before you're going to start your dental school. But the point is, right now, getting into a masters, getting an invite, all of these problems is for future. Like, don't worry about it. Once you get to that spot, there are ways out of it. But right now, the job is to get to that spot first. The schools most of the time will give you admission at a time when they know your master's is going to finish up and you will be free. But if they give you before that, you can freeze your master's. It's fine. And sometimes in masters, you can take more courses, you can take summer classes, and you can finish your master's in 1.5 years, or you can finish it earlier. I made a video, Doc. I'll share this in the group. It's regarding masters specifically. I've shared this information, whether online masters is good or regular hygiene program. In your case, I would rather do a master's rather than hygiene. You can do a hygiene too, but you have already been doing a lot of clinical work. So clinically, you're sound. The main thing that you've been in a gap is this school. You can do a hygiene if you. I think it's not a bad option overall. You will make more money. Yeah, if you can do a hygiene and go into a hygiene school, and during your hygiene school do a couple of research and all of that. Yeah, that's not a bad option too. But do anything, whatever you can. Time is the biggest thing of value is the time. To be honest, like the earlier right now, the way US dentistry is, the earlier you can get into dentistry and the earlier you retire, the better it is. I don't want to get into dentistry at an age where the only reason I don't want to go into residency is because I don't want to start my career later on. So I would be bound for longer. You want to get in, pay off your loan, make some money, create some equity, retire so you can have a better life. Because the way dentistry is done in US, it's like a Chinese factory. They will make you do most of people who have worked dental assisting, they will make you work 7 days of work in one day. They will crush the life out of you. And fine, I can do it for a couple of years, make money and get out of there. That's how it works. So time, by the end of the day, time is of the highest value. And hygiene is not a bad option. Even if you work as a hygienist, you make good money, you can make some property for yourself and live a good life. I think so. I've seen hygienists who are doing pretty good over time. All right. Any other questions, guys? No questions? Sure. Okay. If nobody has more questions, I'm gonna call it a day. But if you have any questions, you can ask me right now.
Doctor, if you do UIC dental school ask for any particular things in the school for the students?
Did you watch the video I made, Doc? In that there's a video I made specifically for UIC, which it mentioned that their interview is very straightforward. They don't read your personal statement or resume. They mostly are trying to see if you have clinical experience, you've done some kind of dental assisting, and they want to focus on teamwork. So in the video, and you can watch the video in much more detail, but these are some of the key things that they are trying to focus at. Your clinical experience and your ability to work in team. Because UIC makes you do things in small group learning. They break you down into smaller groups and go in that way.
Okay. And do they focus on TOEFL as well?
Every school focus on TOEFL. There's no way around it. This is one of the most difficult question I keep, like, what's the way around TOEFL? I tell there's no way around it. Right now, everybody, like, I just like if somebody asked me, can I get accepted to a school without giving INBD? I would say, no, you have to do it. There's no way around it. Again, and especially if you're from India, that's what I'm telling everybody. On average, an Indian is able to score higher than 100. If you were coming from China, where you're not in a English-speaking country, yeah, things might be different for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the information.
Sure. Now, can you share our... So, Doc, if anybody requires me to sit down and review their LOR and SOP, personally, that's a service I charge for because it requires some time and effort for me. If you have any question right now that you want to speak and just discuss, I can answer that. But if you want me to sit down and review your application person statement, I usually charge for those services. But if you have any questions right now, which verbally anybody wants to ask, I'm more than willing to help out with that part. Okay. If you need help with Colorado and their personal statement, yes, I can help with that part. any other question, guys? Anything regarding interviews that you want to ask? All right, let's call it a day. If there's no other questions, I'll share the recording with you guys later on. There was somebody who asked me a questions in a direct message, and I was not able to understand that one. Doc, I don't wanna call out your name because you sent it in a. If you wanna ask that question, you're more than welcome. Okay, all right, pretty much that's. All right, Dr. Lewis, thank you. Sure thing, we'll talk to you more. Take care. All right, guys, if you have no more questions, we'll share this video later on and you can watch the recording. Doctor, any questions?
No question, Doc. Thank you so much again.
Sure thing. All
This
right,
was
guys.
very helpful.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you
see
so
Thank you
much.
so much,
Doctor.
doctor.
Take care.
Thank you, Doc.
Bye.